Hey folks, it's spring, can't you see? Okay, it's technically not quite spring yet, and certainly you can't tell that by the snow outside. But it is time to start getting the bike ready, and thought I'd start with just a little review update after, well, this will be my third season riding this bike, and overall I've been very pleased with it. Let's start out with a couple of things that I wasn't overly thrilled with. First of all, it took them a long time to get these parts in, but I think for those of you buying today, the accessories like the engine guard and the top case probably will come in quicker. Those are just minor gripes. Something for those of you who are going to push the limits on this bike a little bit. These fenders, especially this front one here, is made out of hard plastic. And these little, zoom in there, these little scars on my engine guard protected this fairing here when I dumped it in some rocks. But I did break this fender and had to replace it. And this is about a $200 item. So that's something to keep in mind. The fairings, they're all made out of harder plastic. This one has a little bit of flex to it here. And the rear does actually have some flex, but you know that's in far enough, you're probably not going to hit that thing. Again, hard plastic, some flexibility in the rear fender there. So I think mainly the front one. If I end up having to replace that again in the future, I may look at what else I can do to put something that's a little bit more flexible on there. When this dumped, I broke the reflector, and these I was able to find on eBay, 2 of them for $50, I think, so $25 a side. They're not exactly cheap, but the threads for everything else I could find, like at a hardware store or just an auto parts store, are not the same. So I ended up having to actually buy the Kawasaki branded ones, and fortunately I found some guy selling a set of extras that he had. I did have Kawasaki order me some, and they sent me the wrong part number. They sent red, and these need to be amber. So I think that's the main thing left on here that really kind of is a problem. If you're going to ride mostly on the road, I don't see that being an issue at all. This bike does pretty well on pavement, does very well on dirt, and it's just when you start to get into some of the tougher skid trails or an actual trail where you're going to start having some issues. If you do, you're going to be definitely wanting to armor it up a little bit. So the engine guard, you can see that's just dirt. Is it? Nope, that's a scuff too. So the engine guard has protected me several times. I've got a few little scratches in it. This T-Rex skid plate here has been very good to have. The skid plate, I know the light's kind of conspiring against us here, but it's not big and thick, but it protects against minor miscalculations in how steep of a bump you can go over, and more importantly, and probably more often, big rocks and stuff might come up and whack your exhaust, but this protects it from that. Let's see if I can swing underneath here and get any kind of footage. You can see, there's a few scuffs on it. So that's protecting my exhaust system, and that wasn't, I don't remember what I paid for that, but it wasn't too bad of an ad. Probably saving. Get focus again. I'd say that that's, you know, saved me as much money as I've spent on it. As I mentioned in my very first review, the tires that come with it, they're not really something that I thought were going to go for where I wanted to ride. I ran through a set of TKC 80 tires on the front and rear, and other than, you know, being a little bit short on distance that they'll travel, I think I got 4,500 miles out of them, and they probably still would have went further, but I don't like to run them down to the nubs. So the TKC 80 is a good choice, and I don't know yet. I may still go back to them. This fall, I put on these Midas or Mitas EO 7s. There's an EO 7 here and an EO 7 Plus on the rear. And you can tell by the yellow line, this is the Dakar. They were out of the regular EO 7, and I wanted them now, so I just bought the Dakar for the front. Plus, the stiffer sidewall on the front, if you're going to bang something, it's probably going to be with this front tire anyway. I will say they ride rougher. You know, this stiffer sidewall here, this is it's a stiffer sidewall, and it's harder rubber than the TKC 80s. And so far, I like these tires. I didn't get a chance to put enough miles on them in the fall to really give a super great comparison between the TKC 80 and these tires. Here's the rear for the Midas EO 7 Plus, and these have good traction. They really do. Maybe slightly better handling on the road than the TKC 80, but I suspect the main difference is going to be this is a harder rubber, so it's going to wear longer, and it's probably not going to be as good on things like rocks and you know, issues where just that extra grippy rubber would be more helpful to you. Didn't get a chance to completely clean before winter, but I've had this on a charger. A bike comes with this, which is nice. And I think as any of you have purchased the bike know, there's a old tool pouch in here, which so far I've not used. I've packed my own tools, spare LED bulb here, and the registration. What else can I tell you? I think eventually I may change these mirrors, but so far the mirrors have survived everything I've thrown at them. The times that I've tipped the bike over, the mirrors have just bent. No, well, not bent, but they, you know, just twisted out of the way, and I had to get a wrench out and readjust them, and they work just fine. Added a cell phone mount. Works fine. So what can I say? Overall, I'm very pleased to have purchased this bike. I think it's worth the money that I paid for it. And yeah, I'll see if I can get some more information put together later.